Hey there, and welcome back to Lifestyle School Podcast. I'm your host, Hope, and today we're diving into something that has a massive impact on your health, your energy, and your ability to feel good in your own body. But here's the kicker. Most people have no idea what is going on. So today we're going to be talking about the balance between omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acid. These are types of fats that play a huge role in how your cells function, how your metabolism runs, and whether or not your body is stuck in a state of chronic inflammation, which we know hinders fat loss. So if you feel tired all the time, if you can't seem to lose weight no matter what you try, maybe you have brain fog or just feel puffy and inflamed, this episode is going to help connect a lot of dots for you. We're going to break it all down in a clear, simple terms, and I'm going to walk you through what omega-3s and omega-6s are, why the ratio matters, what happens when it gets out of balance, and what to do to fix it. Because once you understand this, you can start making powerful foundational shifts that really move the needle. But before we get started, I want to remind you that this podcast is for educational purposes only. I am not a doctor, and before you make any major dietary or lifestyle changes, you need to make sure that you consult with a qualified medical professional. So with that, let's get started. So let's start with the basics. Omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids are both polyunsaturated fats, and they're what we call essential fatty acids. Essentially, what that means is that your body cannot make them on its own. So your body can't make these fats. You absolutely have to get them from your diet. Now, omega-3s and omega-6 aren't inherently good or bad. I want to make that clear because I think a lot of times we think omega-6, we think bad, but they're not inherently good or bad. They each serve a really important purpose, okay? Omega-3s, especially EPA and DHA, are anti-inflammatory, which help regulate your immune system. They help support brain function, and they even influence your mood. They're found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, anchovies, and mackerel, as well as algae-based supplements, okay? Omega-6, on the other hand, also serve important functions. They help with your skin health, blood clotting, and your immune response. I bet you didn't know that. But here is the problem. When omega-6 intake is too high and not balanced by the omega-3s, it creates an internal environment that promotes inflammation. I'm going to say that again. The problem starts when omega-6 intake is too high and not balanced with omega-3s, because what that does is it creates an internal environment that promotes inflammation. Historically, we ate a diet that gave us about a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. But in today's modern processed food heavy diet, the ratio is often 15-to-1 of omega-6 to omega-3s, or even 20-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. And that, produces a major problem. Why, might you ask? That is because omega-6 drive inflammation, like I mentioned earlier, and omega-3s help resolve it. And if you're constantly pouring in omega-6s and never enough omega-3s, what happens is you're stuck in a constant state of low-grade inflammation. So we're going to break that down more here coming up in this episode. So let's get into the nitty gritty, because I know that's what you guys all like, right? So when we eat omega-6 fats, and honestly, most Americans eat a ton of them through vegetable oils. I don't know if you have made it a habit of looking at the ingredients list on most of the foods that come in a package in the US, but most of them have vegetable oils, whether that's or seed oils. Things like sunflower oil, safflower oil, canola oil. And we get a lot of omega-6 fatty acids through those packaged foods and pre-made products. We get a lot through fried foods, packaged snacks, and fast food. And our body converts those omega-6s into something called, arachidonic acid. And that gets stored in our cell membranes. So now here's where it gets really interesting. When your body senses stress, injury, infection, or even maybe metabolic stress, it activates an enzyme that converts the arachidonic acid into an inflammatory molecule called acetinoids. I think I'm saying that right, but I'm probably mispronouncing it. I'm going to be honest. And um, these include prostaglandins, thromboxans, and leukotrienes. I believe I'm saying that right as well. But what the prostaglandins do is they trigger fever, pain, and inflammation. Thromboxans encourage blood clotting, and leukotrienes recruit immune cells and increase inflammation. And all of this is helpful, right? If it's temporary, emphasis on temporary. Like if you cut yourself, if you get a scratch, if you catch a virus, this system helps your body mount a defense, right? But when you're eating omega-6 fatty acids every day in massive amounts, this inflammation never turns off. And that's where issues really start. And that's what we mean by chronic low-grade inflammation. It simmers under the surface 24/7 and contributes to almost every chronic health condition we see today. So things like insulin resistance, what we talk about a lot in regards to metabolic health, when we talk about heart disease, when we talk about autoimmune issues, or even things like depression and anxiety. These are all symptomatic of chronic low-grade inflammation. It also increases oxidative stress, which means there's more free radicals and damage to our cells, to our mitochondria, and even our DNA. And it worsens our insulin signaling, making fat loss really hard and difficult. What makes it harder to regulate blood sugar, makes it harder to burn fat, or even maintain a healthy weight. So the real issue isn't that omega-6 fatty acids exist. It's that we're eating them out of balance and our bodies are stuck in a loop of inflammation that it can't get out of, frankly. So the exciting part of this conversation is that omega-3 fatty acids come in to clean things up. That is their job. When you eat omega-3 rich foods like wild caught salmon, we want to stay away from farmed salmon. We could get into that, but honestly, if you knew about farmed salmon, you would think it's gross. But wild caught salmon is very high in omega-3 fatty acids. Things like sardines, or even just like what I do, I take a high quality fish oil. You're getting EPA and DHA, and that is an anti-inflammatory powerhouse because what these omega-3s are also stored, these omega-3s are also stored in your cell membranes. But when your body pulls them out, it converts them into molecules called resolvins, protectins, and mycins. And these are part of what we call specialized pro-resolving mediators, or SPMs. It's really cool. And what they do is something that anti-inflammatory drugs can't do, is they don't just go and block inflammation. What they actually do is they help your body actively resolve it, which means EPA and DHA are going in there and they're cleaning up cellular debris. They're stopping the recruitment of more immune cells. So if you have a too high of an immune response, it's going to stop the recruitment of more immune cells, and it's going to promote tissue repair and regeneration, which is pretty cool. So you can think of your omega-3s kind of like firefighters and cleanup crews all in one, which is really important. And DHA in particular is a major component of your brain and your eyes, actually, and it keeps your neurons firing. It supports memory, mood, and even helps protect your brain from neuroinflammation and cognitive decline. So if you haven't been paying attention to how much omega-3 fatty acids you have, if you have any sort of family history of dementia, of Alzheimer's, cognitive decline, you want to be thinking about omega-3s because your brain needs them. So while omega-6 fatty acids can light the match, we think of our omega-3s as the ones who put out the fire and then rebuild the house. And one thing that I think is really important to touch on when it comes to omega-3 fatty acids is in regards to a plant-based diet or getting omega-3s from plant-based sources. And I want to clear up some myths about this. So, a lot of people who eat a plant-based diet think they can convert omega-3 fatty acids because they eat, or I shouldn't say they can convert, they think they're covered on omega-3 fatty acids because they eat things like flax seeds or chia seeds or walnuts. And yes, those foods contain ALA, which are plant-based omega-3s, but this is really important, but ALA is a precursor. Your body has to convert ALA into EPA and DHA to actually get the benefits we just talked about. And here are some really important data that you need to know about this conversion process. Only about 5 to 10% of ALA becomes EPA, and less than 1% becomes DHA. And that's under ideal conditions if you're stressed, if you're inflamed, if you're nutrient deficient, or consuming a lot of omega-6s, which also compete for the same enzymes for this conversion. Your conversion rate is going to be almost nothing. And that's why many people on plant-based diets end up omega-3 deficient without even realizing it. And then their brains, their eyes, and their immune systems aren't getting what they need. And this is a really big issue. So from a plant-based perspective, the solution, if you're plant-based, would be I strongly recommend adding in an algae-based EPA and DHA supplement. It's going to be 100% plant-based, but it does give you the active forms your body can actually use. However, I do think taking a fish oil, even if you're plant-based, I always encourage people, you got to make sure your body's getting what it needs. That should always be number one highest priority. And so, that kind of leads me into this next part of like, what makes this, let's make this practical. How much omega-3s do you actually need? We probably don't need to be supplementing omega-6 because as you hopefully realize by now, we get way too many in our diet naturally. So really what we're trying to do is balance out that ratio because again, omega-6 isn't inherently bad. It's just only problematic when we don't have the right amount of omega-3 to balance it out. So if you're aiming for 3 grams of EPA and DHA per day, which I think is a pretty good standard dose, I actually probably take closer to 4 or 5 grams a day. Previously, when I worked in clinic, we tested a lot of people for their EPA DHA ratio. And I had never saw one person come back with a good ratio unless they were therapeutically supplementing omega-3 fatty acids. And like I said, this is a huge part of your health and giving your body essential nutrients that it needs to work properly. But 3 grams of EPA and DHA per day is a common dose for reducing inflammation. But here's how much fish you'd need to eat to actually get that many grams per day. For mackerel, which is, I think, the most dense fish for the EPA DHA, you'd have to eat about 1 pound of mackerel per week. And if you do wild caught salmon or sardines, you're going to have to eat over 2 pounds per week. So that works out to be about 3 to 4 servings of fatty fish per week, which might be totally doable for some people, but honestly, not everyone wants to eat fish that much. Personally, I don't love fish. I'll do some salmon once in a while. Sometimes I'll do some other stuff, but I've never been a huge seafood person, if I'm being totally honest. And really, when it comes to the fish, you need to have quality wild caught fish to get the EPA and DHA that you need from the fish. And that can be expensive. I don't know about you, but I have noticed how grocery prices have only continued to go up over the last couple of years. And fish are definitely more expensive than good quality beef. And so that's where a good quality fish oil or an algae-based supplement can fill the gap. And when you're looking at supplements, look for one that gives you at least 1,000 milligrams of EPA plus DHA per dose. And this is super important. Maybe the most important is make sure that it's third-party tested for purity. So when it comes to supplements, as you may know, supplements are not regulated by the FDA. There is a ton of issue with poor quality supplements out there on the shelves where they don't have in the supplement, the label doesn't match what is actually in the supplement. But specifically, when we're talking about fish supplements, if the fish aren't sourced well, a couple problems can happen. There could be high levels of mercury in the fish in your omega-3 fish oil supplements. This has been tested and found in low quality fish oil supplements. Also, the fish could be rancid. The fish oil could be rancid in your capsules, which would also be really gross. So you want to make sure that your supplement that you're buying is third party tested for purity, for quality, for safety. All the supplements that I sell through my website are third party tested. Personally, I would not waste your money on supplements at Costco, Whole Foods, Amazon for sure. Never buy supplements on Amazon because the likelihood of getting a good high quality supplement is low. And I'm going to be really honest, and people don't like to hear this, but when it comes to supplements, you get what you pay for because they have to be formulated in a way that you can digest them. The supplement nutrients get where they need to go. And you want to make sure that you're getting something that is sourced from a good source. And usually, high quality sourcing and manufacturing costs money. So you really get what you pay for when it comes to supplements. And if you have more questions about that, please reach out. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. So, what can you start doing today to improve your omega-3 fatty acid status, to improve your ratio? Number one, we have to ditch the seed oils. Check your pantry, stop buying or using oils like canola. That's a new kind of oil, like canola oil, seed oil. You guys, I seriously cannot talk today. I don't know what my problem is. Canola oil, soybean oil, corn, safflower, or sunflower oil. These are super high in omega-6s, and they are going to throw that ratio way off. Next, what you can do is just try to start incorporating some fatty fish, like we talked about, into your diet weekly. Something like wild-caught salmon, sardines, mackerel. Trying to do that once or twice a week is going to be a good step up from zero. You could add in a supplement if you're not really into eating fish regularly. But again, make sure it's a high quality supplement. It's one of the best investments you can make. And then, of course, just cut out ultra processed foods. Most chips, crackers, store-bought baked goods are made with omega-6 heavy oils. So choose real whole foods as often as possible. And then, test your levels. You can have your omega-3 index tested. I sell that test through my supplement store. You can get it from a functional lab. I don't know that a conventional Western medicine doctor would do that for you, but have your omega-3 index tested and see where you're at, see if you're really low and if you need to supplement, right? The more information you have, the better choices that you can make for your health. So, in closing, guys, omega-3 and omega-6 fats both matter, right? We want to have an immune response if we get sick. But when they're out of balance, and for most people today they are, your body can get stuck in an inflamed, sluggish, dysfunctional state. And that's going to impact your health. It's going to impact your weight. It's going to impact your mood. But the good news is that you can fix this. Every bite you take is either building inflammation or it's resolving it. And once you start choosing fats that heal instead of harm, your body will start to shift. You'll feel clearer, you'll feel more energized, less puffy, and more in control of your health. And if you want support with that, you can come check out Lifestyle School. I teach you how to lower insulin, how to reduce inflammation, and eat in a way that nourishes your metabolism and it gets your body into a natural fat burning state without counting macros, without counting every bite of food that goes into your mouth, or feeling like you're starving yourself. So if this episode helped you, please share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. That would be such a blessing to me. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thanks for listening. And I will see you guys in the next episode of the Lifestyle School podcast.